and it was put in a bank vault along with a much more film. And the fellow who knew where it was put in this bank vault died of a heart attack without telling anybody else where it was. This is a camera just like Abraham Zapruder's camera.
Wondering what Robert thinks about James Files' claims of being one of the shooters of JFK.
One question is, where did Lee Oswald get his money from?
They all assumed he was an American agent.
Yes, yes, that's true.
Today we are here with Robert Groden. We have just moved into 2026, so that is crazy. It sounds futuristic to me. I can't imagine how it sounds to you. Yeah, here we are. Well, thank you for having us into your home. It's
Pleasure having you here.
It's always good to spend time with you, and I love that you're so open to not just my questions, but now the questions of the viewers, because today's whole episode is going to be a Q&A from viewers. So, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. The first one is just, do you have footage of the cops finding and passing down that British Enfield?
Yes and no. There's one film that I have where they're passing the rifle down from the roof, down the fire escape, and then at the bottom of the fire escape, they're examining it.
Okay. And has it been, like, you've looked at these things closely, has it been verified that those were the same weapon?
No, but the thing is that there were not. One would have expected that there would have been more weapons up there brought up by the police, and they actually were none. We do have one small section of film that shows one rifle on the floor,
Yes.
and the other one being examined.
Yes.
There were two rifles up there. One of them was probably the Carcano, and the other was probably the
Mercer.
Mauser, yeah.
And in that video, it's really grainy. You just showed it to me the other day. It's like, it's moving footage, and you found where the two rifles are.
Well, it was black and white 16 millimeter film footage for news. And Atkins ran up there. He was on the 6th floor, and he was filming. He was the only one up there. And when he finished the first roll of film, he took it out and threw it out the window to somebody, as I've understood. And then he loaded up another one, but he loaded it up too quickly. He didn't get the right loop on the film, and it's jumping all over the place for the whole roll of film. It's a shame.
Okay, and that was Atkins?
Yeah, Thomas, I think it was.
Okay.
I think he was with WFAA.
Yeah.
I think.
There was a lot of footage from them that day. All right. Well, the next one is, do you know if anyone has ever tried to trace the assassination by tracing the financing, following the money? Do you know if anybody has taken that angle?
I don't think so. First of all, you'd have to find whose money you're trying to trace. And one question is, where did Lee Oswald get his money from? Way before the assassination, when he left school and joined the Marines.
Yeah. He had ridiculous amounts of money in Japan, and then on his way to Helsinki.
Right. And he always seemed to have enough wherever he wanted to go, whatever he wanted to do. The amount of girlfriends that he had, the hostess at the club.
Yeah, in Japan. The Queen Bee.
Yeah. And that was one, but not the only one.
So it would be like tracing I guess this person is saying, like, you would trace Lee's money, but so many of these, Jack Ruby, others, they dealt in cash. They're dealing in ways that aren't easily discoverable.
Right.
I mean, on purpose.
Well, when it deals with Jack Ruby, you're talking about professional criminal situations, and it's really difficult.
Yeah.
If you have the FBI on your side and they're willing to devote the time and the energy to it, it's one thing.
Sure.
But that's not going to happen in this case.
Yeah, and now we're so far past it.
Right.
Okay. Audrey Bell's taped interview where she talks about Malcolm Perry and the all-night phone calls. So Audrey Bell was the nurse at Parkland. You spoke with her.
I interviewed her for about 2 hours.
Okay.
And videotaped the whole conversation. She told me some very interesting things. Defenders of the single bullet theory and the Oswald did it alone say that nobody saw the hole in the back of the head.
Mm-hmm.
And she said no, it wasn't true. That the doctors called her over and picked the president up, and she showed her the massive hole in the back of the head.
Mm.
And she told me that. And she told me that on the morning following the assassination, on the 23rd of November, she was talking with Dr. Perry. Dr. Perry was just showed up for work. He was just worn out. And she asked what was wrong, and he said that Washington had been, he said Washington, but either the FBI or Lyndon Johnson or somebody kept him on the phone most of the night. That they were trying to get him to change, his story about the bullet entering the neck from the front, and he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't change it. But they got him to stop talking about the frontal entrance wound. And I interviewed Dr. Perry at New York Hospital. I guess it was 1978 or 79. I didn't keep records of the interviews I did as to dates. I wish I had. What I was trying to do in the interviews is to get it straight as to the condition of the head, where the wounds were, because the autopsy photographs, which I had just seen, I was one of the first people outside of the government and medical people to actually see the autopsy photographs. And what I saw was the exact opposite of what every single one of the doctors said. So I started to interview the doctors one at a time, and I ended up with about 20 of them. And I videotaped them all. And the only nurse was Audrey Bell. And she was just very open, she was a very real sweet lady.
And those interviews are all what's documented here in this book. At least the photographic evidence of them showing where the head wound was, and their main quote is all documented in one particular section.
Exactly.
Here
what I did is I took my interviews with them and with the doctors and others. We've got that there. These are witnesses from Dealey Plaza, including Mrs. Kennedy and Clint Hill, and then I went to the Dallas doctors, which is in here. There's Audrey Bell, we were just talking about. And, I didn't actually get to talk to Diana Bowen myself, but I got her statements that she made. And the rest are all Dallas doctors, and some of those are extremely important. And one thing that's really important and sad is that almost every one of them is now dead. And in some cases, I have the only existing interviews with them. But they were absolutely unique. Every single one of them said the same thing. They pointed back here and said, this is where the hole was in the back of the head, the one that the government denies existed. But they all said it. Here's other doctors from there.
And so many quotes.
Yeah.
We went through part of this on the channel, but there's no way I could read it all.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot here in this book.
Well, there's one thing I want to say about the book. You know, we've never really went out of our way to promote it. Of the 8 books I've written, this is by far the best one. It has 1,000 photographs in it, color throughout, interviews with all the doctors. It's got over 1,000 pictures, and of those 1,000, well over half of them had never been published before. The ones of Lee Harvey Oswald in the operating room after he was shot.
Yeah.
Those are unique too.
That's crazy.
So, if you're interested in the photographic evidence, I suggest the book.
Yeah.
Of all the 8 books, this is the one I would suggest. Anyway, that's enough of my promotion.
Yeah. And if you are interested in the book, because we're going to reference it throughout the interview, but if you guys are interested in the book, the information will be in the show notes about who you need to email. Robert is happy to autograph it for you. And it even, until they run out, it comes with a Texas theater ticket inside of it from 1963. So very cool little piece of memorabilia with your book. So I love it. I can't say enough good things about it. All right, the next question we have is pretty interesting because it brings up something that we were already talking about privately. It says, Penn Jones on a video said that there may have been a black baby that was injured in the shooting and that a black baby entered Parkland Hospital shortly after the president. While he is standing sort of where the sign is, he points back toward where the predominantly black crowd had been standing along Elm Street in front of the school book depository. Is there any more information about this? Anyone else who talked about this at the time?
There are 2 or 3 film segments in black and white of the father holding the baby and running down the knoll carrying him, and then handing the baby to his wife, and they're heading toward the underpass. And one can assume that this is what Penn was talking about. And whether you can't tell whether the baby has been injured or not, but the parents are obviously in distress. So that's probably a good bet.
Okay, so the boy's name was Ronnie Fuller.
Yeah.
Ronnie Fuller was the one, we don't know that he was the one passed along, but he was the one checked into Parkland that same day. So what, do you remember anything about what was said about him?
Just that he was injured at the time, and Penn brought up the idea that he may have been injured
And
in the shooting.
I've heard stories about pools of blood or pools of something red, and actually maybe that there were 2 different spots where there were red things. So can you explain the red pools or where the blood was potentially?
Well, when it was first seen, it was seen by reporters, and it was described in 2 different places, and it could have been 2 different ones. One was on top of the knoll between the stockade fence and the retaining wall, and it was on the sidewalk there by the there used to be a park bench up there, and it was right by that. And the other one was supposed to have been on the stairs itself. We have pictures of it from films and photographs of the one on top of the knoll. We have nothing from the stairs at all.
I see. And do you know of any pools of blood that were reported near the Texas School Book Depository?
I don't know of any there.
Okay.
The thing is that the one that was on top of the Noel, the one that was photographed, was first described as appearing to be blood.
Mm-hmm.
It was blood, blood, blood. And then somewhere along the line after that, it became a red soda.
Uh-huh.
Apparently, there was a bottle of soda that was dropped and broke open, and something came out on it. We really still, at this point, 62 years later, we don't know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
The police never took a sample of it to find out what it was. And that's one of the many things that they didn't do. They didn't pick up any of the cigarette butts behind the fence. They didn't do pattern situations of the shoes that were
right, of the
back
shoe
then.
prints, or yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that today probably would be done that were not done, that should have been done. The license plates of the cars that were parked in the parking lot by the depository, there was a police officer assigned to writing those numbers down, but the list disappeared. Never appeared in evidence anywhere.
Yeah. Which is, that also relates, and it makes me think about Lee Bowers having noticed 3 cars, and he described at least 2 of the license plates. He talked about them. One looked like an out of town, like it was enough information that if you had some enterprising investigators, they might have gotten a lead.
Yeah.
But nobody cared enough to do it.
Unfortunately, none of the films that were taken on the Knoll right after the shooting show any kind of detail for license plates like that. Again, that's the sort of thing that I've been involved in for all these years, is collecting and releasing all the films of the assassination. I'm known for the Zapruder film. The Zapruder film, Nix, much more, Bell, Hughes, Towner, Drummond, Pascal, all of them. I was interested in releasing them and making them last, preserving them, when nobody else really seemed to really care.
Yeah.
And my DVD, the assassination films, collects all of them together.
Yeah, that's right. That's your blue one? Is that right?
No, that's the red one.
The red one.
Yeah.
You have the blue one that does, what is the blue one's distinction?
The blue one is, it's a documentary that covers the whole thing. Everything from the plane landing,
That's right.
President's plane landing, Air Force One, and going through the entire motorcade, and then into the plaza, the actual event itself, all the ones of the actual Dealey Plaza films, and then the follow-up, the investigation, things like that.
Okay. And that includes a lot of the film and footage, the actual footage from the day.
Yeah.
But then the
All of
red
it.
but then the red one has the distinct, where you can keep watching one particular film and notice what's in it.
These are the 2 DVDs. This one here is a collection of all the films, full-length footage, complete.
So it includes Muchmore and Nix, Bronson.
Zapruder, Nix, Muchmore, Bell, Hughes, Towner, Dorman, Martin, Mentezana, Daniel, Bronson, Wigman, Couch, Dallier, the DCA footage, which is many different sections from different parts of the motorcade in the last 2 days, which is the only 16 millimeter color footage. Everything else was 8.
Oh, wow.
And so this is a collection of that. And it's actually 2 programs. It's the assassination films and the killing of a president. The killing of a president is a short documentary on the case. The other one is JFK, the case for conspiracy, which is this one. This is it's a full documentary on the case. And I worked on this one here for pretty close to a year.
Wow.
To put it together.
So
Anyway.
these are available too by that email link.
Right.
So if you want to go in depth with the actual footage that you know has not been manipulated on YouTube, because so many YouTube videos are manipulated, there's little tweaks that have been made or edits. This is the original film footage from those films. So that's a great resource if you're interested in doing that research.
And in almost every case, the ones that I show here were the first releases of these films publicly to anyone, anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
My purpose when I did this was to preserve the images so they wouldn't just disappear. By now, many of them have. Two of the most important films of the case, the Nixon and the Muchmore film, the originals have been lost. They are totally lost. The only copies that exist were the ones I was able to make and preserve. Many of them are on video, a format of videotape, which now is very, very difficult to deal with, called U-matic. It's half-inch instead of thinner tape like DVD. And I'm trying to get together the money to buy a new machine. All my machines have degraded from lack of use, and I can't check what's there. So,
And you need lots of different equipment to keep up with the variety of film types.
Right. All my equipment's in storage, and a lot of it won't work anymore because there are capacitors in the electronic parts of these things that when you don't use them, they dry out and they become unusable. And I'm still trying to track down the availability of another machine so I can play them back and run them. A lot of the TV shows that I've appeared on through the years, some of them I don't even have. Everybody promises to send them, and virtually nobody does. But every once in a while, they turn up on the internet, which is phenomenal.
Yeah. Vince Palomera has done some good work on that, where he'll just upload a very old documentary or very old film footage, and I love it because it makes it available to us.
Yeah, I need to talk to him about that. There's one that I did in California. It only ran in California. It was called Both Sides Now. And there were two versions of it. We did the first one. Mort Saul was the main host. And there was another guy who was taking the right wing side of the view. Mort was taking the liberal side of the view. And I got on that show and I showed the film for the first time there, before Goodnight America, actually. And the other fellow got so upset at what we were doing, he threatened that if we ever showed the film, if we ever aired it, that he would sue. And we had to do the whole show over again from scratch. And Mortzell hired Hugh Downs to be the co-host on it. And the first one, the one with which never aired, I have that. The one with Hugh Downs, the one that did air, I don't have. And again, it was only shown in California on the Chris Kraft Network. They're out of business now, and Moorman unfortunately has passed away. And you know, these sort of things just tend to disappear. Some of them become legend, and some of them nobody even knows about.
Okay, so this one's a quick, easy question. Do you know if anyone ever verified if Ruth Payne made it to her dentist appointment that she said that
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know if she went to hers or if...
Ed Hoffman had one that day that he supposedly skipped.
That's who it was. But, you know, that's something else too. There's all kinds of details like that I don't think anybody really knows.
Yeah.
Ruth has passed away.
Okay. Here's another one, and it's one I've wondered about too. This is from our talk that I did with Janet about Tippit. But the question is, it says, one thing I always wondered, Who did Tippit call from the record store? Weren't there any phone records for the record store?
It was a local call, which were not traceable, were not loggable. If it had been a long distance, it would have been, if anyone had thought to do it. But it is felt that since it was a very, very short call, and that he didn't seem to be saying very much, if anything, that whoever he had called didn't answer.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be important to find out who that was. But as we are now, 62 years later, nobody knows.
Mm-hmm. I just found out recently that, so I knew Top 10 Records is still there.
Yes.
But they actually have that phone encased in glass.
Yeah, well, it's there, and you can pick it up and pretend to talk on it, but it's not connected to anything.
That's crazy.
It's still there. They kept it.
That's so fun. All right. Oh, one more question about the Malcolm Perry thing, because the person who asked said it sounded like they were the Dealey Plaza UK group.
Mm-hmm.
They said that you indicated to that group that you would release that taped interview. Have you released it?
No, not yet. Here's the thing. I interviewed about 20 of the doctors and other witnesses, and of all of these interviews, most of them I have. Some of them I can't find,
Mm-hmm.
and three of them in particular I can't find that are very important. You mentioned Audrey Bell. She's one of them. Dr. Perry, I wasn't allowed to interview. He's the only one who wouldn't let me videotape the interview. And he said if anybody ever wrote about it or spoke about it, he would deny it ever took place. Which was kind of interesting because he hadn't talked to anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did the interview with him in New York Hospital, it was in the middle of winter. There was snow on the ground all over the place. But I was there, and a reporter and a photographer from the Boston Globe were there with me. We did this interview. And I showed Dr. Perry the autopsy photographs, or some of the autopsy photographs, which he had never seen. And he looked down at them, and he stood up at his desk, and he said, "I didn't do that," talking about the neck wound. He said, "That's a butcher job."
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him point blank, was it an entrance wound or an exit wound? He said it was an entrance wound. And he'd always said that. He'd said it since the day of the assassination. But there was he and so many of the other doctors who couldn't talk about it because they were ordered by the powers that be at the hospital not to ever mention anything to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And for all those years between there and the late 1970s, when I actually did the interviews with most of them, they hadn't spoken to anybody. And,
they had been good boys who had done what they were told to do.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, too, the Department of the Navy actually did actual formal orders, written orders to the medical personnel at Bethesda Naval Hospital, ordering the people never to discuss any of it.
Wow.
And when the House Assassinations Committee wanted to talk to some of them, they had to get new orders written to allow the doctors to speak about this.
Wow.
That was kind of amazing.
And based on Malcolm Perry's response, we can't say for sure, but he seems to have been scared into silence. There was something still controlling him 17 years later.
Well,
15 years later.
The thing is that Audrey Bell told me how upset he was and that he was being told by the powers that be not to ever discuss any of this. And from the time of the assassination until the time I spoke to him about this, he hadn't talked to anybody else about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really, really delighted to get him to speak about what happened. And I was terribly disappointed that he wouldn't let me tape him. But at least there were 2 other witnesses that were there when
True.
he said all this.
Yeah, but they didn't print it anywhere, I'm guessing.
Well, I think they did.
Oh.
Not all of it, but
Okay.
some of it.
So maybe look for a Boston Globe article about him.
Right, and that would have been about 1979, I think.
Okay.
Like I said, I didn't write down the dates of
Sure.
these interviews. But what really is very important is the fact that everybody who described the head wounds described a massive exit wound in the back of the head, an entrance wound in the front, exit wound in the back, which is what they all said. In JFK Absolute Proof, I published the statements of 79 people that all said exactly the same thing. The only people who said anything different were the 3 autopsy physicians who had never done an autopsy before ever in their lives.
And were apparently under orders
Yeah.
from the Department of the Navy.
Well, there were the entire autopsy, what they called an autopsy, which really wasn't. It was being controlled by admirals and generals that were in the room. And this sort of thing should never have happened the way it did. The president's body should never have left Dallas without an autopsy being done. And the under orders from Lyndon Johnson, the body was illegally removed by the Secret Service. And so much went wrong.
So, as I listen, I'm just having alarm bells that, go off all the time as I'm reading. But I read someone recently who was saying everywhere else in the world, we call what happened a military coup. And we all know that that's what happened. But in America, they've been told this story and they want to believe it. So if we're identifying this military coup or something, whatever we want to call it, some kind of coup, you've identified LBJ, you've identified the Secret Service,
Yeah.
you've said the Department of Navy gave orders.
Yeah.
Who else do we know for sure would have to be in that power group that had enough authority to bring about the cover-up? Even if we say we're not accusing these people necessarily of being a part of the first conspiracy, but they were part of the cover-up afterwards. Who do we put in that group that had the authority for that?
Well, the first book I wrote was called JFK, The Case for Conspiracy, which I just gave you a couple of days ago.
Yes, thank you.
The original title I have for that book was JFK, The Case for Two Conspiracies. One to kill him, one to cover it up. They didn't necessarily have to be the same one. But there is some evidence, some things that let us believe that the cover-up, or at least the second cover-up, if there were two, is still going on. And when you believe in conspiracies, as I do, and there's a great deal of evidence of it, and you start wondering if other events that are happening, even to this day, may relate to this
Original
situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people who have recently talked within the last year or two about conspiracies, and especially around Lyndon Johnson being involved in the conspiracy, and some of the things that he did, some of the things that he ordered, some of the things that he allowed, including the Warren Commission.
Right.
It's hard not to believe that he was part of the cover-up. he didn't believe the Warren Commission report. And he said so publicly several times. He didn't believe it. 3 of the Warren Commissioners themselves didn't believe it. Yet we're supposed to. Many of us don't believe it. The very first reports I heard on the day of the assassination is that the police were chasing the assassin across the railroad yard, across railroad tracks.
Yes.
And the railroad tracks behind the depository building. And I remember that extremely well.
Was that on the radio or television?
Television.
Okay.
I believe it was on NBC, but I've seen the NBC footage several times, and it's not there the way I saw it. So it could have been another station. On the day I saw it, it was my 18th birthday that day. I was playing hooky from school. Don't do this, kids. But I heard the first reports, and I kept the TV on. I heard reports the same day, and by the middle of the afternoon, that whole story had changed. And they went from the parking lot on top of the grassy knoll all the way up to the 6th floor of the depository. It was completely different. And the story changed. And what the witnesses said was buried and changed and like that. You have published several of these things on your podcasts. And there's many more that, that have never been recorded on videotape. Videotape did not exist.
Yeah.
Home video.
It was news footage or the rare Zapruder type who had a home camera but those we've known about.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's several witnesses. James Tague spoke very openly about it many times, because he was actually struck by one of the bullets on his cheek. Charles Brem, I interviewed Charles Brem early on, and he said that the shots definitely came from the knoll, or at least one of them did. Just before he died, I interviewed him again, and the story changed completely. He changed. He said, "No, well, they all came from the 6th floor." How would he know that? Unless he was shooting. And of course, he wasn't. But people were threatened by this. Orville Nix, who took one of the most important films, he was asked by Mark Lane, where did the shots come from? He said, from the grassy knoll. Originally, he said, the grassy knoll. And he said, where do you think they came from now? He says, from the 6th floor of the depository. He says, why do you think that now? He says, that's what they told us. It's happened with a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was weird. Right before many of them went to go testify to the Warren Commission, they did a reenactment that included shooting from the 6th floor. So it kind of reset a lot of people's memories toward that. It gave them an active, oh, that's the way it happened, rather than letting them sit with their actual memories.
Well, one of the things that the House Committee did do, it was a good suggestion, and it was to take test shots from the 6th floor, from the grassy knoll, from other places too. But all they did was the 6th floor and the grassy knoll. I wrote a one-page suggestion to Professor Blakey, the director, that if they were going to do the testing, they should fire test shots from all the places. That letter actually was published in the volumes, the volumes of the HSCA. The House Assassinations Committee, for those who didn't know what that stood for. They published the suggestion and made a list of the suggested firing points. It was ignored completely. And they never did from anywhere else except the 6th floor and the knoll. But even that showed shots from the 6th floor area, although they never really tested to see if it was the sixth floor. They assumed that if shots came from behind, it came from the sixth floor.
Mm-hmm.
And the only one they tested to make sure of where it came from was the one shot that came from the knoll that they admitted to.
Mm-hmm. But they didn't test from the Daltex building near the fire escape. They didn't test from above on the rooftops of the various buildings. Or the other place that you and others have talked about is what would it be, southwest corner of the sixth floor.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I dealt with all of these things in the letter that I wrote. And that note they did publish.
Yeah.
And one that they did not publish was a letter that I had written to Professor Blakey. What had happened was I had seen the autopsy photographs, and I wrote a eyes-only letter to him stating that what the doctors had said, what I knew that doctors had said, and when I got to see the autopsy photographs, that they did not show the same thing. Very soon, I think within 2 weeks of my writing the letter, a fellow who worked for the CIA, Regis Blayhead was his name, broke into the safe. The safe was left open. He went in, and the ones that I said were faked like that, he took out of the binders, and his fingerprints were on them. That's how they knew who had gone in. And they asked him about it. He denied it, and after a while, he admitted that he did because he was just curious. Anyway, the thing is how he knew about that particular bunch of photographs. He should not have known about that. Yet that's the only one that was taken out of the binder. So that one they never published, they never dealt with, but they covered it up. And it turns out apparently Blade had worked for the FBI and was on loan to the CIA, and they sent him in to work with the House Committee as security.
There were several CIA handlers, essentially, to these different committees.
Yeah, Joe Anides was one of them.
And that name, just so you know, is George, and then the last name is Joe Anides. It looks like Joan at the beginning of it. Okay, so we kind of got a little bit off track, but the difficulty of publishing various films online or releasing them is often a matter of finding the film, locating it, because you have so many different films, and identifying which ones you have, and then also machinery and getting it transferred into digital. Would that be the...
As I've said several times, people talk about the Zapruder film. How did I get it? How did it work? I had the interest in the case. I had access to the film. I had the machinery to do this. I cared to do it. And putting all that together is what made it possible to do it. There were people who had access to the machinery, but not the film.
Right.
And they didn't have the interest in the case.
Or the interest, but not film knowledge.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So now, if someone, let's say that there's some person listening that says, well, I have interest in film. What would be required at this point? It's organizing the films, finding and organizing the films, getting the machinery involved.
I am trying to find the missing ones.
Okay.
When I find those missing 3 that I'm aware of, and with all the other ones together, I want to transfer them and do one on the medical evidence, the interviews with the doctors and the other witnesses as well.
Okay.
Some of them only exist because the reports are out there. You know, from Mrs. Kennedy, what she said. She said, from the back you could see, you know, there was nothing there, no
That's
damage.
right.
She said, she was describing shots from the front. Clint Hill, a Secret Service agent, saw the same thing, saw the exit wound in the back of the head.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got his interview here in the book too. And he told me that the exit wound was in the back of the head. He was looking right down at it. He saw it. And I asked him, well, then where did the shot come from? He said, oh, from the 6th floor.
Mm-hmm.
How could it come from the 6th floor and exit in the back of the head? It just couldn't happen. And he wouldn't put 2 and 2 together, or he couldn't put 2 and 2 together. Or he had and just following orders. Anyway, there's been a lot of stuff that individuals like Harold Weisberg and Sylvia Marr and Josiah Thompson and other people, individual people through the years have put into their books. Those books have pretty much gotten buried over time. You're bringing them out now, bless your heart, and reading what they've written through the years. What I've attempted to do with Absolute Proof is to present what they had said, what I've discovered, and the actual photographic evidence. Mm-hmm. 1,000 pictures.
Yeah.
The Warren Commission itself, on their own, republished some photographs that already were published publicly and some that were not. I think I counted a long time ago that there were 6 that they had discovered and released on their own.
Ooh.
I've done 2,200.
Yeah.
And this book has 1,000 pictures, which is, it was quite a task. And again, the color throughout, some pictures that had never appeared publicly before. Mm-hmm. CIA pictures of Oswald in the Soviet Union in color, mm-hmm. Which shows that they cared about him even before he came back. And
this stupid little nobody.
Yeah.
But they were keeping careful tabs on him. And so were the Russians. I read through an article this week that talked about they all assumed he was an American agent.
Yes. Yes. That's true. And they were right.
They weren't, it didn't sound like they were actively trying to get his attention. In fact, they tried to kick him out. And then they sent him out to the middle of nowhere in Minsk, kind of like, you can't do much trouble here.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay.
And then he wanted to get home, finally. He said, oh, sure. Here you go. Here's the paperwork. You got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your wife?
Peasy.
Yeah. Your Russian wife? Bring her with you.
Here's a loan.
Yeah.
To help you get home.
Which, although he had no way to pay it back, did.
Yeah.
They tell us.
Get paid back. Okay, we talked with Marianne Moorman. She talked about all these people sending her photos to get autographed. Do you know if she's comfortable? Does she have a P.O. box? Because I've had a lot of viewers say, I would love to send her a photo. How can I get an autograph? Do you know if she's comfortable with that? We could reach out to her.
I'd have to ask her.
Yeah.
I'd have to ask her. The last time Janet and I saw her was when we took you there. And it's one thing I've always been very happy about.
I love it.
And it was terrific. What I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to set up a situation where you can get into the railroad tower, Lee Bowers Tower.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do with that.
That would be great. Brian Edwards had taken some photos from there also, so he's been up in there like you have, but I would sure love to get up in there. Okay, so we can try to work on finding out from Marianne Moorman if she has an address that she's comfortable with us sharing.
Yeah, I'll have to ask her that.
Okay. We've talked about the work crew that was doing the 6th floor replacement, floorboards. Do we have names for that? Where would records for that be?
If we do, I've never seen them.
Okay.
They're just the crew. Yeah.
And it was an outside crew.
Yeah. And they were replacing the floor on the 6th floor. And it reminds me of something. one of the witnesses on the fifth floor, one of the black guys on the fifth floor, said he heard the shots, bang, click, click, bang, click, click, like that. He heard, he said, the shots, the bullet shells hitting the floor, but he didn't hear anybody's feet running away or walking away or anything like that. Just kind of strange, because that would make a lot more noise.
It does seem like that would, one little dinky bullet versus some level of hurrying to get across.
But then you ask about the actions they were taking. What did they all do? They all ran down to the western end and looked down at the knoll. Which, one of those things, putting two and two together, if you tried to.
There's things that we have to look at what they said, and then sometimes it's what they didn't say or didn't notice. Okay, this is about the film, and I've asked you this privately. Let's talk about it now. I was hoping Robert would explain why, as the president's car went behind the sign, it looks like the film skips a frame when it reappears. And I've heard videos where people are saying the back of JFK's head on the film has been doctored. It looks like it has. They suggest it was the work of the CIA and FBI. Do you have anything to share about that?
There are two spots in the Zapruder film where the film has been edited. This is the second one, the one that was published by Josiah Thompson in 6 Seconds in Dallas. That's the second one. What happened was, and this is from the horse's mouth, when I was up there on the at Life magazine, I asked them specifically what happened to the film. And they said what happened was a junior lab technician was put in charge of the film, blowing it up to 4x5 transparencies. And as he was putting it in the enlarger, he closed the gate down on top of the film and accidentally cut the film. And then what did he do? He spliced out those missing frames, the damaged frames, and created what we see now, which is frame 207 to 211. But I've got all the missing frames.
Yes.
When I dealt with the film for the first time, the second film is easy to see because there's a tree growing here, and part of it's down below, down here, see? Like so. On the original frames, which are all in here, we've got all the missing frames from that. I had the missing frames from a copy of the film that was made before the film was damaged. And I published all of those missing frames here in the book.
Even the ones from the tree splice?
Yeah, all of those.
So that's really important to understand. I think one of the things that gets exploited in those conversations about missing frames is to act as if, and therefore we don't have those frames. But he has published the missing frames that were from that moment in the splice here in his book.
These are the missing frames from the first splice. These are the two frames that are gone. And these are the two damaged frames. When you have a splice and you do a cement splice, you have a last frame from the first part and the first frame of the second part. And that's what we see here. And there's the damaged frames, and these are the missing frames. And that was the first splice. And the second splice is here. This is the one that was advertised when Josiah Thompson published his book, 6 Seconds in Dallas. But he had this and this. They didn't have the missing frames in between. Nobody did. I had the Secret Service copy when I worked for the House Assassinations Committee. I made copies of those missing frames and published them here so people could see what was missing. And where the splices occur are not where shots were fired. That's an important thing, because people who think that the damage to the film was done on purpose, or think that it was there to show or not to show something that happened. Well, I published the frames, they're intact, and nothing is happening. So I go with my hypothesis as to what happened, where the Warren Commission said the first shot could have been fired because there was a tree growing between the sixth floor window and the president's head in the car. Since the tree was there, they said the first shot could have been fired only by frame 210, which is the middle of the second splice, rather. I think that what happened was, since nothing is happening on the film, the president doesn't respond, Governor Connolly doesn't respond to anything. I think that splice may have been put there. The only reason why it could have been put there, logically, is to hide the fact that nothing was happening. And that the first shot didn't happen when they said it did. At the time of the first splice, which is before the president goes behind the sign, he's waving. First, he's waving toward the crowd, and before the splice happens, he's looking inboard to the center of the plaza, and immediately after that first splice, his head is turned 90 degrees and he's looking directly toward the grassy knoll and stops waving. You can't really tell that unless you see those missing frames.
The missing frames, that's true. And so then we could believe that those damages were done intentionally, but they were only done intentionally to the life copy. Is that correct? Not to the Secret Service.
To the camera original.
The camera original.
Which Life owned. They had a copy that was a poor quality copy, but it was intact. It was made before the film was cut. And in 1978, I guess it was, I had access to the Secret Service copy, which was intact. One of the 3 copies that were made in Dallas that day. That's where I got the missing frames from.
So the missing frames in this book are from that 1978 experience that you had during the HSCA, where you had access to the Secret Service film copy that was one of the original 3 film copies.
That's correct.
Okay. And so then that's how we can know what is there. And like you said, perhaps it was done to hide his response toward the knoll.
The only reason that I can find is that.
Okay.
It could have been an accident. It could very well have been an accident.
Okay.
I mean, look at the reality of this. Life magazine paid $250,000 for that film. They said $150,000. It was actually $150,000 plus 10% of the money that could be made from licensing the film to other magazines like Epoca and like that. And so, in fact, they actually paid the equivalent of $250,000, $250,000 for the film. That they would trust it in the hands of a junior lab technician, it's questionable.
That does seem really like a shoddy story.
Yeah.
Okay, this is about Zapruder also. It says, is there a picture showing Zapruder filming or before he started? I have never seen one. I'm trying to look for that. Was he caught in any photos actually filming?
Zapruder appears in the Nix film, and I believe the Muchmore film as well, from across the street, and I think possibly in the Bronson film too. Well, here's from a distance. This is the
Marianne Moorman.
Mary Moorman's picture. That's Zapruder standing right there. This is right here.
So we definitely have images of him there. That's one of the kind of lies that's being told at this point about the Zapruder film. People can say anything, but that he wasn't actually filming, that someone else filmed, and they just said it was him that was filming.
No, it was him that was filming. There's no question about that. The thing is, was he the only one who was shooting from that side of the street? Janet's done a great deal of work on that. My wife, Janet. And there's a very, very strong possibility there could have been a separate film taken from that side of the street that we have never seen. I mean, I didn't get the opportunity to release the Zapruder film until 1975, 12 years later. And if I hadn't had the opportunity to do that, we still would not have seen the film.
That's very
Life
true.
would never have released it.
Yeah.
I happened to be the one who had the opportunity and the care to do it,
And the guts.
and the equipment. Yeah.
But so there are photos of Zapruder filming,
Yeah,
and he maybe shows up in the other films.
yeah, he does, and we've got pictures of him jumping down from the place where he was. We know that he went to work that day and did not have the camera with him.
And he had.
His secretary had said, "Mr. Z, the president's going to be here. How many times have you ever gotten to see the president of the United States? You have a chance. Get your camera." So he went home and got the camera and brought it back. It was the last time he had ever used the camera. Anyway, he shot the film, and one question which you may be asking soon, so I'll attempt to answer now. The film, the camera itself, which I've got right over there, one of them, it's a manual wind camera, spring-loaded. When you want to take film, you wind it, you make sure that it's wound, and you can tell when it's wound because you can't wind it anymore. Zapruder was filming for a while before the motorcade got there. When the motorcade got to the plaza, before the car turned onto Main Street, Zapruder he had no idea where in the motorcade the president's car was. So he's filming, and there's no car. He's got the motorcycles, but then either the camera stopped, ran out of wind, or he realized that it would, and he stopped, and he lowered the camera from his eyes, and he wound it. Thank goodness he did, because if he hadn't, the camera would have run out of wind before it ever got there. He would have missed the entire assassination. So as he's winding it, he sees that the president's car is now turned on to Elm Street, and he starts to shoot again. This is why there's no film of the president's car turning on to Elm Street from Houston in the Zapruder film. But people think, that's why it was cut. It was edited. He never filmed that part of it. Anyway, that's a very important point. I had a feeling you were going to be asking me that question. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it is good. And I think we can't tell it enough because modern cameras don't work like that. And so our brains don't work to think like that. But the truth of it is that's how the camera worked. And he would have had to be mindful of that so that he could make sure he got the whole event.
Would you like me to get the camera and show?
We could.
Okay. This is a camera just like Abraham Zapruder's camera. It's Bell and Howell. And when you run the film, you can hear that's the normal speed of the camera. And you do that until the spring is running out of the tension. And when that happens, it'll stop making that noise. Okay, and that's what happens. That may have happened to Zapruder. No one ever. It was never an issue, so nobody ever asked him. But the odds are that that happened. Either that happened, or he was worried it would happen, and then he had to take down the winder and slowly wind up the camera again. And while he's doing this, the president's car is making the turn onto Elm from Houston. But that's what happened, and that's, people that want to find additional conspiracies think that the film has been edited at that point, way before there were any shots. So, anyway, that's, now you can see for yourselves.
And you did a good job showing to the missing frames that actually we have the missing frames.
Yeah.
They're just not in that original life printing.
That's
They
correct.
do exist.
When the Warren Commission, in volume 18 of their 26 volumes, published individual frames from the film, outside of the fact that they reversed two of the frames at the moment of the headshots would look like the president was thrown forward instead of backward. Except for that, they started showing their frames after the first splice. So they never dealt with that, the fact that there was a first splice.
So they didn't show that.
They didn't show that. Nobody ever mentioned it until I found it on the original film.
So that could have also been their participation in trying to just keep that question out of people's minds.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible. Or it could have been just financial, because the more frames they publish, the more it's going to cost them. Anyway, at the frames that they start showing, and I think it's like 133 or something like that. I'll have to double check that for you. But the first shot frames, like just the motorcycles themselves, and then the president approaching the roadside. They then start printing the frames intact. Not missing any frames except where the splices are, the second splice. They stop at frame 334. This is a very important point. 334 is the last frame before the first clear frame showing the damage to the president's head.
That's right.
It's in focus. Zapruder is panning at a specific rate. The car is traveling at a specific rate. When they're both traveling at the same rate, the frames are crystal clear. If one is going faster or slower than the other, it's slightly out of focus.
So it's not that we don't have photos of the back of the president's head, and it's not even that Zapruder didn't get a look there. But the most famous ones that were publicized were fuzzier.
Yeah. And that was only in volume 18 of the Warren Commission volumes, because the frames that show the president in focus are 335 and 337. Those are the only two. Even 336 between the two is slightly out of focus too, because the pan rate changed. But they do show the president's head in profile, and the damage to the back of the head back here shows up. It looks like a volcano shape, like an avulsed exit wound, which is what it was described as by several of the witnesses in the medical evidence.
Well, the other thing that happened too with how the wound looks in the car versus how it looks at Parkland is that by Jackie's own testimony, she said she was trying to hold his head together.
Yeah.
So if there had been a physician immediately within 3 seconds of the shot, there may have been a different visual presentation than after she has potentially held the head together.
There was a study done of the Zapruder film for the Warren Commission by Louis Alvarez, and he dealt with the Warren Commission copies, the stuff that was on paper already. And he hypothesized that when the shot was fired, when Zapruder heard it, he jumped.
Mm-hmm.
His study was called the jiggle analysis. And the jiggle analysis was quoted by the Warren Commission. What they didn't tell you, though, was they weren't dealing with the entire film. They weren't dealing with any of the original shots or after the fact. So basically what he was doing was a small section of the film. And when you match the jiggle analysis to my clear copy of the Zapruder film or an original copy, you can see that the jiggle analysis is legitimate if you deal with all of the shots and not just some of them. And right after the fatal headshot at frame 313, Zapruder jumps. He jumps because he hears the shot, and the film goes out of focus for several frames. And when he comes back in focus, the president's been thrown to the rear and to the left. Extremely evident to everyone except Dan Rather. Anyway, Dan Rather said the president was thrown forward. The Zapruder film, the Nix film, the Muchmore film, and the Bronson film all show the president thrown backwards and to the left. People who say the Zapruder film has been edited to cut that out are crazy. Because if you have to do the Nix film, the Muchmore film, and the Bronson film exactly the same way as the Zapruder film. And they didn't have them. They didn't have them. I hadn't released any of them yet.
Okay, so one of the other things that I think gets lost is there are multiple renditions of the Zapruder film that have been put out there into the public bloodstream. One of them is yours, the original work that you did to Grodenscope it, but by doing so, you were actually centering in on Kennedy. So it could change people's perceptions of certain elements in the film because you were trying to focus in on Kennedy. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
For example, the sign. You weren't focusing on presenting the sign in a nice, orderly fashion. You were trying to...
Not in every copy, but there were copies when I did things like the road sign, the umbrella man is holding.
Connolly.
The president, Mrs. Connolly, Governor Connolly, the drivers, the Secret Service guard, witnesses in the background like Mary Ann Moorman and Jean Hill. I did it several different ways. I've never released any of those yet. Perhaps someday I'll be able to. I still have all those films.
And so in those, when you're focusing in on one particular thing, the things in other places might look like, oh, it's a different size or it's in a different spot, potentially. Is that accurate?
Yeah, if I'm shooting pictures of the president and focusing in on him, everyone else is going to be slightly out of focus. In some cases, not every case, but in most cases, it'll be out of focus and spreading horizontally a little bit. And by doing that, it makes things in the other area seem different. You mentioned Grodenscoping. There's a technique which I use to stabilizing the action in the Zapruder film. I did it many different ways. I did it for the president many times. But by zooming in and presenting that, you lose perspective around him. And the technique didn't really have a name. And Gary Mack, a researcher in the case, his wife referred to it as Grodenscoping. And so I started dealing with it as Grodenscoping. And because it needs a name, it's a stabilization technique of the film. And some of those versions are on this, on JFK, The Case for Conspiracy.
And so when somebody is trying to deal with questions of, was the Zapruder film faked? I mean, you and Craig's presentation talked about this actually. You need to be careful which version you're even looking at. So if somebody here is thinking, well, maybe this part or that part was faked, you need to think through, which version am I being presented? How detailed is it? How good of quality is it? Where did it come from? And then also, has it been potentially edited on YouTube or something? Because there's YouTube edits that show Greer turning around and doing it, and all the things. So
yeah, that's another thing. And at the moment, Bill Greer, who is driving the car, and Roy Kellerman right next to him, is been hypothesized by some people. They see what they think is Bill Greer turning around and shooting the president. Mm-hmm. Well, what they're seeing here in the film is actually Roy Kellerman and Bill Greer. The person who's doing this analysis is presenting it, and through the power of suggestion, telling you that what you're seeing is a gun, and you're not.
Am I right in saying, can you see both of his hands on the
steering wheel?
Steering wheel.
Yes.
And so the actual thing that's being seen is Roy Kellerman's slicked back hair.
Right, his forehead. Mm-hmm. And there's the brightness of the forehead against the darkness of Kellerman's head. It's convincing if you don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
A quick look.
Yeah, but he wasn't, and that's created a lot of disinformation through the years. One thing that's extremely important is that part of the analysis of the Zapruder film depends on what you're seeing in the next film as well. Because the two of them show exactly the same frames, but from the opposite side of the street of each other.
Now, was the Nix film taken into custody? Is there reason to doubt its chain of custody? Like, could it have been altered? Because that's the next thing that people claim.
Okay. The Nix film was taken at the time of the assassination and was not bought or dealt with at all. It wasn't even processed right away. On the original Nix film, there's additional footage after the assassination of a high school football game.
And, so they did go on to use their camera and shoot their normal life.
They did. They did more on the same roll of film.
Wow.
And the company that bought the Nix film had it processed themselves, but never let it be used, except they showed it in black and white in a film called Years of Lightning, Day of Drums. And I saw it in that film in Germany when I was in the Army. First time I ever saw it. And but it had never been shown anywhere else. When I wanted to deal with the film, they said to look at it will cost you $10,000.
Whoa.
Yeah, so they wouldn't let me deal with it.
Wow.
Eventually, I did manage to finagle a way of getting a hold of the film. And thank goodness I did, because after I got a hold of them and made copies, first generation copies from the original film, the film was taken by UTITN, United Press International Television News, and it was put in a bank vault along with the much more film. And the fellow who knew where it was put in this bank vault died of a heart attack without telling anybody else where it was. And those original films have disappeared. The only clear copies that exist are my copies.
Wow. So you made a first generation copy. You held the original. Was there splicing? Was there any missing frames?
No, nothing.
Okay.
Totally intact.
Okay. Here's an easy one.
Okay.
But you have some things to say about it. I know you do. Wondering what Robert thinks about James Files' claims of being one of the shooters of JFK. You guys are about to hear from someone who has spoken to James Files. So let's hear it.
I don't believe the story. It may be true, but the odds are against it. His story has changed from the original time he told it until now. It's not the same story. It's close, but it's not the same. One has to imagine, would professional mobsters hire a teenage guy, no matter what background he had, to do their one chance to get the job done? It's not likely that they would do that. As I say, I can't say that it's not true. I can say I just have trouble believing it.
And it's important also that people know that you and I both actually, you have said this about yourself, and I think it's true about me. We tend to want to believe people. You have said, I'm kind of naive and I want to believe people.
Yeah, I would hate to be the guy who said, nah, to the truth. We have a lot of potential conspiracies out there, a lot of evidence of a lot of different conspiracies of where different shooters might be, of how many shots there were, and like that. I don't want to be one of those people who say, yeah, it's not true, it's not true. Because it might be. It might be. There might be some part of an individual story that's missing that we don't have.
And you want to give a fair hearing to people who were there.
There are people on both sides of this issue that arbitrarily say, nah, it's not true, of different stories. And they don't know that it's not true. It's just that it doesn't match their specific theory of what actually happened. Like, you could ask me, who do I think did it? Well, we just did that. Who could have been involved in the conspiracy? Could have been the CIA. Could very well have been. The odds are, the evidence is that they were involved in that. Lyndon Johnson, there are a lot of people who are sure that he was the mastermind of doing this. Of course, dealing with Lyndon Johnson as a mastermind of anything really is stretching imagination.
But maybe a puppet boy.
It's possible. It could be part of the cover-up. You know, it's the creation of the Warren Commission is one thing, but then when the report came out, publicly stating he doesn't believe it,
Yeah.
maybe that lets him off the hook. Who knows?
But James Files.
What I will say is, where he says he was, we know a shot, at least one shot, probably two, were fired from. He claims he fired only one shot. There is evidence of perhaps more than one shot, 2 or 3 shots from that general area. Was he alone? Was there somebody else there with him? Who knows?
His story is that he was alone.
Yeah.
Which, to me, in and of itself, discredits a lot, because Ed Hoffman saw 2 men, Lee Bowers saw 2 men. Other people walked up pretty quickly after and said that they saw Roscoe White behind that fence. So for James to say he was there alone, that in and of itself is a problem.
Yeah.
Because you can't be back there and not see the guy that's, 6 feet from you, 10
Well,
feet
one
from
thing he said, he was firing a Remington fireball. Next 100 fireball. It's a single shot gun. It's a handheld target pistol. It resembles a rifle in that it uses a
bolt action.
bolt action, exactly. Thank you. And like that, but it only holds 1 bullet at a time. If you miss your 1 shot, you don't have a second choice. You don't have a second opportunity.
And just that, like you said, the mafia taking their 1 shot on a 17, 18-year-old kid, and then him taking his 1 shot with literally 1 shot.
Well, the point too is the fact that, if he wasn't alone, if he was the only one behind the fence, these people could have been firing from behind as well, and there certainly were. One thing he says that we know is true is that Oswald was not another shooter. He could be telling the truth. I'm not saying he wasn't. I'm saying I have trouble believing it.
Okay. Well, that was their question. Okay. This question comes from Matt Douthit, who's here in Dallas. We did our JD Tippit tour with him.
Mm-hmm.
He says there are photos of Mrs. Reed in the plaza after the shooting. When did you interview her? When did you talk to Geraldine Reed?
As I remember, it was sometime in late 1970, early 71.
70 or 71?
Right.
Okay.
One thing to remember is there apparently were two Mrs. Reeds, Dolores Reed and Geraldine Reed.
Okay.
I interviewed Geraldine Reed.
Okay.
And I'm telling you what I heard.
Okay.
That, you know, she was on the second floor. Dolores Reed apparently was on the first floor outside. They were in different places. And they said different things. Mm-hmm. Her story to me was that about a minute before the shots went off, she was sitting in the office across from the lunchroom where Oswald, or the snack room, where Lee Oswald was located. He walked into her office and asked for change of $1 bill to use the Coca-Cola machine. And he said he wanted change of the $1 bill, but he didn't want pennies. He wanted nickels, dimes, quarters, whatever. But he didn't want pennies. She said that specifically. So she's counting out the change into his hands as the shots went off. They heard them go off together, and they looked at each other. She was Oswald's alibi that he wasn't on the 6th floor.
So then her testimony and stories that she never said this to the Warren Commission, she didn't say it to the police or the FBI. So was she threatened? What was her explanation for that?
She was afraid. She told me she was afraid. She told me what she saw, but she asked me not to go public with it until I heard that she had died. This was probably 1970 or 71. She died in like 1971 or 72, very soon after that.
That's what he said. He said 1973 was the year that she died.
Yeah. Well, I spoke to her in 71 or 72. I didn't find out about it until just before publishing JFK Absolute Proof. And she wouldn't let me photograph her. She seemed very, very frightened about telling her story. And I believed her. She had no reason to lie. She wasn't going public. She wasn't trying to write a book. She wasn't trying to get any attention. Just the opposite. And
when and how was the circumstances where you spoke with her?
Somebody else had known her story. And he's dead now. But he set up the interview situation. Took place in her living room, across from a fireplace. And she was very open with it, but again, you could see she was really nervous about it.
Did she still live in the Dallas area?
Fort Worth, I think, as I recall. Or an area near Fort Worth.
That gives more information. Okay, this one's interesting. I had never heard this. I wonder if you had. It's about Julia Ann Mercer. This person says, some inconsistent information has been shared about her in the past. She was the wife of either a U.S. representative or a state representative. Did you know that? And it says, sources from the 1960s say that Mercer was her maiden name that she used even though she was already married at the time that she made the report.
I know nothing about that. All I know is what she told Mark Lane.
She did talk with Mark Lane. Did she talk to him on camera?
I don't believe so.
So she's been kind of kept... I mean, she's been a private figure.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had never heard that, and I wondered if you had.
Well, when we did this section of her for JFK, for Oliver Stone's movie, he had hired an actress to play her part. And we shot the scene in a private home overlooking a little stream, slightly southwest of Dealey Plaza. There's a record of what she said, thank goodness.
I think the last question we'll tackle, it actually deals with this book. He gave us the page numbers. So, page 74 has the large version, and then you have it reprinted again in the back. He says, I have this book, and on page 74, we see, which I guess I'll hold up for the camera. This page right here has the photos of the only known photos of this man.
Yes.
And he said, this is a picture of someone who has to be one of the assassins. That's what this person says. I would have put that picture on the cover of my book. But I wonder, has anyone done research into this? Do we have any information about this man? Do we think he could have been one of the assassins? Who do you perceive this man to be? What do we know about him?
I don't have any knowledge of the total number of people who would have seen him. Clearly, the police officer, Officer Smith, did see him and spoke about him, saying his hands were dirty, his fingernails were dirty.
That's the one with the dirty fingernails.
Yeah, I'm assuming that that's the one.
Okay.
This young lady saw him too. This was taken by, as I recall, a WFAA news film photographer.
So it's on film.
Yeah, but this is just one small part of what he took. This is, and then we're talking about right here. He came out from behind the stockade fence and walked in front of Officer Smith and walked by him. Smith saw him for a moment, said he wished he'd have stopped him because, in retrospect, the man said he was a Secret Service agent and showed Secret Service credentials. He spoke to him that much. But I don't know of anyone else who spoke with him or asked him any questions. You know, there are other people seen up there, as well as there was one fellow who was seen just moments after this one by Buell Wesley Frazier, who had been standing in the doorway of the depository and walked toward the overpass, the stockade fence, and ran into somebody who he said had a rifle. But there's those two guys, and then there was Roscoe White on the who was behind the stockade fence, but not close to the fence. He was back toward the railroad tracks.
Yeah. And this man had the jacket folded over his arm too.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it had been a rainy morning earlier that day. It looks to me like hiding something.
There could be a rifle or a gun underneath there. That is possible. You know, it's a logical thing to assume. There was another photograph. There's Gina and Mary. They're wearing their raincoats because it had been raining, as you pointed out. Yeah, this copy of the book is interesting. It's got Mary Ann's autograph in it.
It's wonderful. This is his personal copy.
Yes.
That we're using for display today.
There's another picture taken at about the time of the tramp pictures, and it shows a guy walking who's got a jacket, and it looks like there's something under it, like a rifle or something like that. And somebody asked me if that was Joseph Miltier, because nobody knew who Joseph Miltier was, just that his name had been brought up. When I wrote my first book, the reprinting of my first book, JFK and the Case for Conspiracy, there was a second printing of it, which you have. It has a whole expanded opening section about Joseph Miltier. I spent a couple of years tracking down Miltier, pictures of him, and there is a picture of him in Dealey Plaza. And there's so many, 1,000 pictures here. Here he is right here. On that day, sometime a little bit after this picture was taken, Miltier from Dallas made a long-distance phone call to an FBI informant that he didn't know was an FBI informant, and said, well, I guess you won't see your friend Kennedy anymore. And this FBI agent, he said to Miltier, I guess you're just guessing. He says, Miltier says, I don't do any guessing. So the original threats that he made were tape recorded surreptitiously by the FBI agent. His report was given to the FBI just before the actual assassination took place, and they did not act on it. As a matter of fact, they tipped off Miltier that he was being recorded and that there was an agent talking to him. It made it very easy to figure out who he was. Miltier died in a very strange accident. A Coleman heating stove exploded and burned him severely. And he was getting better in the hospital, but then made a turn for the worst and died. So,
Miltier is one of those with clear foreknowledge.
Yes.
There's too many to be just a lucky guess.
Well, the thing is, he's the only one who was actually tape recorded saying, you know, what was going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And he even named a guy named Brown, who was a Ku Klux Klan member, who was a likely shooter. So
interesting. Okay. Well, that tackles the questions that I pulled out. There are more. We'll have to do a number 2 at some point.
Okay.
But this is enough for today. Is there anything that's on your mind lately as you're thinking about the case that you just kind of want to share?
I mentioned to you the other day that I had actually spoken with Governor Connolly himself.
Oh, that's right.
And I asked Governor Connolly, you know, did his story change at all? He says it's never changed. He says he'll always believe that he was not hit by the same bullet that hit the president. And he explained why, which is exactly what he had been saying for all those years. And he had just finished saying the same thing that same day to the House Assassinations Committee. When the House Committee did their first JFK hearings, the very first day, Governor Connolly, with his wife sitting next to him, was the first witness called. I was the second. And I testified that very first day, almost all afternoon, with my wife at the time, my late wife, Christine. And part of the actual video recording of my testimony before the committee has been shown on the internet. And talk about being nervous. I was live TV at the time. The appearances for Goodnight America and Both Sides Now and others were all recorded. You know, it was just videotaped earlier. This was live with millions of people watching. That was nerve-wracking.
And under oath?
Under oath, yeah.
To the Congress.
Yeah, and
yeah.
Most of the people were okay. They were right, but some of them were hostile, and it was clear that it was not made clear to these committee members who was good and who was bad. So,
how long after your appearance on Goodnight America was your testimony in the HSCA?
I testified on, I did the appearance on Goodnight America. As a result of that, I was invited down to testify before the Virginia Congressional Delegation.
That's right.
And presented the films and my slideshow. And Congressman Downing and others were so moved by it that Congressman Downing introduced legislation immediately to reopen the case. And he asked me if I would be willing to be the House technical consultant on the photographic evidence, and I agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I'd say,
Is it the same year?
maybe 8 or 9. You have the information in the book.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's
the,
true.
The actual date, the date that I made the appearance,
Mm-hmm.
because he invited me down. I presented the evidence, all of it,
That's right.
before Congress
That's right.
in the House, at the House,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when he had asked me if I would officially work for them.
Mm-hmm.
I was the first person hired by them.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was a unique situation.
It's amazing. So that's when you spoke with Governor Connolly.
Yeah, well, actually, the day of the actual testimony, he spoke before lunch. I spoke with him at the beginning of the lunch period, and in the afternoon, I was going to testify all afternoon.
Wow.
And it was a wild, wild time. There was another time when I was there when other people were testifying about medical evidence, and the issue came up as to the testing of the acoustics evidence. And the question came up as to the temperature in the plaza, because the temperature in the plaza would affect the speed of a bullet traveling. So they wasted about an hour trying to figure out the temperature, which was 68 degrees. I knew it because there was a thermometer photographed on the roof of the depository that said it was 68 degrees. And I kept trying to tell him that, and I kept waiting, and I was ignored. Finally, one of the congressmen, I think it was Christopher Dodd, went out to use the men's room, and I saw him leave the room, and I ran out, and I told him about
The photo.
and then when he came back, he went and there was more testimony, and then he mentioned what I had said. And that resolved the issue. But that was one of the many weird things that had happened.
Wow. Very cool. Thank you very much for this time of
You're very
visiting.
welcome.
Always appreciate it. It's always a pleasure. You're
It's
learning
always
so many things.
It's a pleasure for me. You've done an amazing job. And
Yeah.
thank you for letting me advertise the book, because it has been quite a while. And this book here, as I said, is my 8th book on the assassination, but it is by far the best. There's never been another book quite like this one. And if anybody orders it as a bonus, as you mentioned, I include a 1963 ticket from the Texas Theater, where Oswald was arrested that afternoon. And I included with it for the book, as long as they don't run out yet. And they haven't yet. So.
You guys have seen throughout this interview us reference this book. It's an excellent resource. It is a fat resource with wonderful color photography throughout, photos that you won't find anywhere else. So look in the show notes for this. But we all are grateful, Robert. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jess.